the present of Infect.
The future of Infect.
Next on Eternal Durdles. Hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of our Patreon supporters out there. Thank you to the Durdle Maniacs. If you want to be a Durdle Maniac, go to patreon.com/eternaldurdles and help support the channel. It keeps things going. It keeps things updated. Thanks so much for watching. On with the show. Hello and welcome to Eternal Durdles. I'm your host, Zach Clark, and with me this week we have two special guests. Michael Everett, who came in 19th at Eternal Weekend, and of course, FenrusCloud, Sam Doms, the Infect Master. So, guys, obviously we're talking about Infect today.
Yeah, it's a great deck. It served me well the 2 weeks ago, and I'm excited to talk more about it.
Nice. I'm always excited about to talk about Infect. So, I've been talking about how the deck is really good again for a while now. So I'm happy to see that it actually has been proven in both Europe and America. So I'm excited for the future, really.
I'll quickly go into my experience because it's quite short with the deck at Eternal Weekend. I want to quickly shout out Sam because the day before, I'm about to get on the train. I'm like, hold on, man, I need to ask a couple of questions, and we sort of tilted the deck around a little bit, added some stuff, took out some stuff. You stopped me from jumping off a cliff at one point with Green Sun Zenith. And
I actually tried to get you as close to my list as I could.
Yeah,
I wasn't able to get you all the way.
Yeah, I'm a hard guy to convince sometimes.
Yeah.
My dad always said that about me. He's like, I can only give you so much advice, and then you just jump in the car and go into a wall anyhow.
But that's fine. You should always play what you think is best. So I'm glad we ended up somewhere in the middle, I think.
Yeah. My big thing was I wanted to leverage Lorien Revealed. And try and get to a point. I definitely made some mistakes in my build, but I wanted to get to a point where I could up the blue count for Force of Will, because that seems like a thing that the deck had a problem with.
I actually had an experiment myself with Lorien where I went up to like 4 Wastelands and 3 Lorien Revealed, and it was honestly, I think I'm not sure if I think I made a video about that deck, and honestly, it was pretty hilarious because people just don't expect 4 Wastelands from Infect, and I went up to like, I don't know, so in total like 20 lands, but you don't count Inkmoth or Wastelands as lands, and it just was hilarious because it often felt like a Delver deck where I'm just turn 1, play an Infector, and then just Wasteland, play Loriens all the time. It was really fun. I really liked the build. I don't think it's the best build, but I did have a lot of fun.
Do you have that video up?
I'm gonna check I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure.
Well, if you do, we'll find out after the cast, and I'll put a link up to it somewhere. Yeah. Just so that people can check that out. If not, eventually it'll go up, and I'll, if you stumble upon this in a year, you'll be able to see it somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
That was actually one of the things I liked about the deck when I started playing it. Was I was a Rug Delver guy, so Stifle, Wasteland, play a threat, protect the Queen, Infect has a lot of those same notes, not the Stifle Wasteland part, but the Protect the Queen strategy, and, playing Daze, playing Force of Will, stopping the unfair decks, right? But then protecting your threat and winning through a little bit of a combo kill, a little bit faster than Delver. So that was definitely kind of what drew me to the deck.
I've played Delver occasionally too. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I picked up the deck like a week before Eternal Weekend. I had been testing Food Chain Goblins for a couple months leading up to it, and all of the times I was winning, it was because I had to fight really hard for it, and then the rest of the time I was losing. So picking up Infect as a deck that just steals wins out of nowhere for free constantly felt so good. Yeah. So the Eternal Weekend was my first time playing that 75 with the quick reflexes, which just felt like the deck was on steroids. It was insane how good that card is.
You have entered the church of Legolas's quick reflexes for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yes. That card is the biggest upgrade Infect has gotten ever. I'm not exaggerating. It really feels to me that way. I think it's what the deck has been wanting for since its inception. It's both a removal spell and an unconditional protection spell. It's honestly just nuts. I never expected that would ever get anything of this power level. So I'm just in love with the card, honestly. It's insane.
Yeah,
Yes.
so obviously I went 3-3, which I had my good matches, I had my bad matches, I had my good matchups and bad matchups. I think slightly worse matchups than I would have liked, but honestly, for someone who hadn't touched the deck in years, I think I did okay. But yeah, you said you just picked up the deck and went with it, and obviously you made the right choice because you just played Sam's same 75 from his
just about. I think I was 2 cards off from the sideboard. But
yeah, actually,
same main deck,
I think
exactly.
so. I have the list in front of me. I think you had.
Yeah.
I played 2 Triumph. You played 1.
Yep.
And
I only got my hands on 1.
Yeah,
okay.
I was playing. I was playing a Trinity Nemesis as my other Triumph because I was like, I bought the decks. I bought the Warhammer decks when they came out. I'm like, I own 1 Triumph.
Yeah, and then I played the basic forest in the sideboard for the Blood Moon matchups, and then I don't own a Seeds of Innocence, so I just had the 3rd Force of Negation.
Force of Vigor, probably.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which I think that's honestly, I think that's where Sam was going with the deck, was to remove the seeds and add the Force of Vigor as
it's the first thing
answer.
I did after Eternal Week in Europe.
Okay.
I'm so sick and tired of losing to Blood Moon / Chalice. I went up to 4 Force of Vigors now. Nice. I'm just not everything. I went 7-3 in Eternal Week in Europe, and all 3 of my losses were against Chalice / Blood Moon decks. Literally every single one. If I get to play Magic, I'm feeling fine. But if I don't get to play Magic, I hate losing that way, really.
Yeah.
So that's why I've gone up to 4 Force of Vigors, and I'm even thinking about playing 2 Hydroblast in the sideboard too. Just to show you how much I hate losing to Blood Moon, etc. And it's been working out great because it has improved the matchup quite a lot. As soon as if you survive the first 2 turns against Initiative / Blood Moon Stompy decks, you're okay, really. You just need to be able to do something. That's how honestly if I was on camera, maybe you've seen the match. If you haven't, don't go and watch because you really didn't miss anything. I just didn't play any Magic, right? It was round 5 in Europe, where I was around 6 because I was 5-0 at that point, and I played against Initiative, or at least I should say I didn't play against Initiative because I just got turn 1 to Blood Moon, and that felt honestly just devastating. The deck is so powerful. So yeah, that's what I've been going for, and I think that's the way forward, because if we look at the win rates of Initiative, I think it has had the best win rate of Eternal Weekend alongside Painter, just to show the deck is not going away. So you need an answer for the deck. So that's what I'm going.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to be next time I play, in fact, I'm going to swap out probably the basic forest, which I didn't love, and then the 4th copy of Swords to Plowshares. I want to bring in Dismembers, because a lot of the Blood Moon decks are tilting towards the side of Magus of the Moon instead.
Yeah, man. I got Magus during like round 4, and I was unhappy.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll berserk that thing if you attack.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah,
I like Dismember. It's a really cool tech. I just don't want to cut swords. For currently, I've been thinking about playing Dismember as well, and I'm not sure if I want to play 2 Hydroblasts or 2 Dismembers. So I can get behind that choice. We'll see.
So, Mike, let's go over your matchups real fast and just give a good or bad for what you would have thought coming into the tournament for this. Not necessarily if you won or not, but how you felt about this matchup. So we've got you in round 1 playing against Dimir Scam.
Yeah. So in the tournament, I misplayed this a little bit because I wasn't super familiar with the matchup, and I did take a loss. But I think in general, the deck is certainly beatable. You're gonna get screwed over by a turn 1 Scam, but what archetype isn't? Yeah. But after that, it's Bowmasters, Days, Force of Will. Those are all things that you're very capable of playing around as Infect. So I think it is a fine matchup. I don't feel insanely favored in either direction, but I think it just comes down to skill and knowing what you can play around.
I personally hate this matchup, mostly because Snuff Out, and then getting scammed out on turn 1, obviously. But I mean, I don't know, Sam. How do you feel about the Scam matchup?
It depends on the sideboard. If I'm playing Catherines, honestly, it feels fine because they just, as soon as Catherine, if it ever resolves, they just have so much difficulties dealing with it. Especially when you have, especially in combination with Legolas, it's honestly insane how powerful that is. And also against Scam, Swords is also very good. We also play Veils in the sideboard. It really depends. If I wasn't playing any Catherines, I'm always afraid of Plague Engineers. Most people have been cutting Plague Engineer because it's really not that good in the meta anymore, which is good for us. So it depends heavily on the sideboard, both for the Infect player and for the Scam player. But generally, I think it's about 50-50. But that it may change depending on how good the pilot is, of course. So in general, I'm okay with it, but I'm never happy when seeing that matchup. But it's fine. It's not terrible.
I lucked out actually against somebody with Plague Engineer in one of my rounds where I had out all three of my Infect guys, the Ink Moth, the Bladed Agent, and the Glistener Elf, and he put it down and he said Rogue.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
All out.
All right.
That's
I told him after the match, I was like, "Hey, man, like, because I'm gonna, I killed him with the Embiggen on the Ink Moth, and I was like, the word that you're not seeing here is Phyrexian."
Zach, you shouldn't tell them. You shouldn't tell them.
Yeah,
don't let people know.
I can't help it. Here we are broadcasting it to hundreds of people.
They should know, right? Because if you play Embiggen, it gets +4/+4.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. They should realize like, why is it 4? Because I'm only seeing 3 types. So okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So next you played 5-color control.
Yeah. This match is incredibly easy.
Yeah, because Leyline Binding is like their big thing, right?
If they ever tap out for Beans on turn 2, you just win the game on the spot.
Yeah.
And outside of that, they don't have quite enough spot removal to deal with what you have, and they don't have the speed on their end. You can just sculpt your perfect hand.
Yeah.
Take as long as you want.
Yeah, they don't have the same kind of permission, and the threat base is kind of low. And also, like, if you have Ink Moth, like, half of their removal's useless against them because Leyline Binding doesn't work.
Yep. Yeah,
Sam, how do you feel about this?
I think one of the reasons why I love Infect right now is because the best control deck, if not the best deck in general in Legacy, is Beans. And the current iteration of Beans right now is just so hugely favored for Infect. I think, and I'm not exaggerating here, my win rate is around like 90% against Beans. It's honestly insane how powerful Inkmoth Nexus is in that matchup because they've now gone to Leyline Bindings, and that doesn't hit lands. And they also don't have flies anymore because they rely mostly on Catherine. Sometimes I have like 2 Murktides, maybe 3 occasionally, but that's just not going to be good enough against Infect. So I've been hugely favored against the Beans decks right now, especially because they rely on the longer game with their Beans. And that's just, we are not going to give them time to generate value out of the Beans. So I feel heavily favored against the deck.
Yeah. I think the consensus is that we managate this deck because we're so fast. So they can have all the cards they want, but if they can't cast all the cards they want, they're not leveraging the Beans. They're just getting selection out of the Beans.
Exactly. And again, Legolas, I don't think I've ever lost a game when I had Legolas in my hand. Honestly, it's that powerful. You can just go for it every single time. And Legolas makes all of their removal spells so awkward because what are they going to do? Not use removal? That's not something that you can do, right?
That's so silly.
And usually what control decks want to do is they want to keep out swords for as long as possible. So a play that I like doing is just firing off double invigorates. They will usually they let that through unless they were going to die, but they are fine taking 9, right? Because it doesn't matter. But now that's no longer the case because you have Legolas. If you slam in for 9, you've basically won the game because swords will not work anymore. So when are they going to remove your stuff? Because if you invigorate once and then they swords, but you have Legolas anyway, it does the same. So removal is just so awkward now for the control mages. And that's all thanks to Legolas.
Yeah. All right. So in the next round, you played against Temur Aggro, which is basically just blue-red Delver with questing druids.
Yeah. This again, it felt fine. Delver felt like a little more of the skill matchup. They have more interaction for you, and they can present the clock. I think I was able to just get, put together a very fast kill and have the day's backup. But then post board, I played Triumph for St. Catherine, and I drew my one copy, and I miracled it, and that was that. It's so hard for them to beat. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's that is the goal, right? Against the Delver deck is to get a Triumph out.
Yeah, once you have that, because you can put your pump spells on that if they're gonna block with their giant Murktide or whatever. They just can't kill it when it's on the battlefield.
Interesting piece of technology that this deck decided to go, because they're playing Dragon's Rage Chandler. 2 Seal of Removals, which is spicy.
Yeah, that did show up in one of the games, and that scared the crap out of me. Yeah.
That's a tough one. Sam, how do you feel about this?
Well, another reason why I think Infect has really gotten a big upgrade is because if you look at the new additions to the deck, Legolas and Embiggen, currently with the way Delver is set up, every single pump spell that we have saves our creatures, right? Both against Bowmasters and all the bolts. So this is why I think that Infect right now is so well positioned again, because we have 12 ways to protect our creatures, and that's just all the green cards. I'm not even including forces or daisies. In the past, it was really horrible, but honestly, right now, I feel fine against Delver. I'd say that my win rate against it is over 50%. I don't have statistics to back it up, but when I'm paired up against Delver right now, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm okay with that, which is not true. Which has not been true in the past, and that's also because Legolas. It's just, it happens.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, with Legolas, another thing that makes that card better is that, normally you had to worry about, we were like, okay, well, I can pump my guys against Bolt or whatever, but if they have Wasteland and I'm trying to go with an Infect with my Inkmoth Nexus, Wasteland just ends my combo.
Exactly.
Now you have Legolas Quick Reflexes, and, you're getting so much more value out of that than say, Vines of Vastwood, which they can counter.
Oh, for sure. And you don't have to play around days. It's so important.
Yeah.
Because them wastelanding you, etc., it's so powerful. And it's also a very good removal spell. I've had a lot of situations where I have, like, one Nexus on the table, and my opponent has, like, I don't know, flipped Delver and an Delirious Darcy, and they just slam in. I'm like, sure, go ahead. Animate my Nexus, invigorate it. I know it's coming, right? They bolt, and then you're going to use the reflexes. Nice. You block one, ping 4 mana, kill the other one, my turn. That's just the best feeling in the world.
And my favorite part about reflexes this weekend was the untap was so huge, because with Inkmoth, normally you're a little more thirsty on mana because you have to activate, but with quick reflexes, you can activate the Inkmoth with itself and then untap it with the reflexes, and it feels like it's a free spell.
It's so cool. I managed to survive once by giving a random Noble Hierarch reach too. It's so silly. It gives reach.
Yeah,
nice.
Okay. So they just added an extra word to the
exactly
copy.
Right. A slam in for lethal. Yeah, I'm gonna block with my Noble, so I can kill you next turn. It's honestly, it's ridiculous how many keywords the card has.
Yeah.
So in the next round you play, and this is a deck that I have no opinion on because I've never seen it or heard of it. 5 color tokens. I'm going to go over this deck real fast. Architects of Will, Bloodbraid Marauder, Street Wraith, Orcish Bowmasters, Tarmogoyf, Glass Dusk Hulk. I've never even seen that card before. Brazen Borrower, Colossal Sky Turtle. So this looks like a lot of cycling cards. And then you've got Incubation, Incongruity, Crashing Footfalls. There's the tokens part. Okay. Lorien Revealed, Rise and Fall, and Land Grant. Days, Once Upon a Time, Force of Will, and then 16 lands. This deck looks like the weirdest deck ever, but if it falls into that Crashing Footfall style deck, I think you're doing okay here.
Yeah, so this match started with my opponent going turn 1, suspend Rhinos, into turn 2, cast a Once Upon a Time for free because he hasn't cast a spell yet, and then find Orcish Bowmasters. So I was very confused.
What?
Yes, I was, then he cycled the Architects of Will, and I was like, does he have a living end in here? Do I have to play around that? And then it turned out that he was on the Bloodbraid Marauder to get Delirium off of cycling these artifact creatures, and then cascade into Rhinos that way.
Wild deck.
wild deck, very, very cool build. It went very well for me.
Yeah, it looks like you won.
Yeah. He didn't have enough interaction, and he wasn't able to present a fast enough clock, even with the rhinos. So I was just able to, get in for 10.
Yeah. Sam, how do you feel about a deck like this?
I don't know, man. I've never
left speechless. Congrats to KCC who was left Sam speechless.
Exactly. Although I do, when I hear you guys talking about it, or Mike talk about it, it seems it's a combo deck, right? And generally we are favored against combo decks. So just based off of this 5-minute talk, I'd say we are favored. But yeah.
And the thing is, like, with these Rhinos decks that are popping up, there's this one and a couple other iterations out there. It's kind of like a combo deck, but their combo is put 8 power into play.
Yeah, it's like your combo is kill you in 2 turns.
Right.
Which is like, wouldn't you just rather play Galvanic Relay and Storm?
I think Rhinos is really good, though. Let's not underestimate the deck. I think the deck is very good, honestly, because if you put 8 power on the board turn 0, most decks just die. However, we are faster. You need 3 turns to kill us? Please. Let's just swing it once and let's see how it's done.
We're speaking from a privilege that no one else seems to understand. I get you.
I think Rhinos it's going to be more and more popular. We're going to see it a lot, but that's good for us. I think it's again, we are favored in that matchup, I believe.
One last point about this deck: he was playing 3 Snuff Out on the board, so not
Yikes.
He was out there. He was out there. All right, so the next round you end up playing against Temur Rhinos.
Yeah,
so you're right. It's out there. That deck is out there.
That deck is out there. This was more classic build with he was cascading on turn 1 off of Spirit Guides. He had Furies to evoke to try to wipe my threats. I think he killed me game 1 pretty easily, and then post board again, I just boarded in my 5/5 lifelinker against all his 4/4s.
Yeah, that's tough for them.
Yeah, it stuck once. It traded with a hard cast Fury, and then it got cast again off the top, and that was that.
Yeah, that'll do it. Sam, we were just talking about Rhinos, but what's your general consensus about the deck?
As I said, I think the deck's very good in general. It's going to be a contender for maybe best aggro deck. I wouldn't, should we even call it combo deck? I don't know. It's like somewhere in the middle, I guess. But I think we are favored in general. Fury can be, that's probably the only thing that I'm really afraid of coming from Rhinos, because that's just, if they get to hit a couple of things, it can be scary. However, generally, we are favored against combo decks, and if we can just stop that combo once, that's usually good enough. Honestly, that's how it feels. So
they're not playing a lot of interaction either. After they're playing Fire Ice and Fury, and exactly. I honestly don't think that's enough.
Especially the one issue with them is, they after board they have Blood Moons though, so they can go turn 1 Blood Moon off their Spirit Guides, and that's pretty tough to beat. Because I don't know if we can really afford to bring in all of our enchantment hate against them with I think they had 2 moons in the board, and I don't want to bring in 2 or 3 forces to hope to answer that.
That makes sense. All right, so next you're on Boros Painter. I know personally I played Boros Painter in my 4th round, and I got crushed.
This is a tough matchup. This is a very, very tough matchup. They can present an actual combo that kills you very quickly. They can trap you under Ensnaring Bridge. They have the Blood Moons. They have all these tools against you. In our match, they went for the Ensnaring Bridge, but couldn't get down to 0 cards, so I got to attack with a 1/1 and then make it a 10/10. And then, post board, I had a bunch of Force of Vigors against them, and it got through, and that's what I needed. But in general, this is another... they can just slam at Blood Moon really early. They can combo out really early. They don't have a ton of interaction for you, so if you can land your Force of Wills, etc., then you're probably going to be okay. But it's a little coin flippy. Yeah,
and now at this point of the tournament, you're 5-1. You got to be feeling pretty good.
I was feeling pretty good. I was not expecting to be there.
Yeah, because like I said, you had just picked up the deck, so you were probably like, "Whoa, I'm wielding a lightsaber right now."
Yeah, I had played a total of 4 rounds of this deck at a Friday Night Magic, and instead of having quick reflexes, I had the one that puts the enchantment on your guy that gives it ward 1.
Royal treatment.
Oh yeah, royal treatment.
Royal treatment. Yeah. So I was playing royal treatments, and the deck felt, it could get kills, but it wasn't doing anything broken. And then after 2 rounds of playing with Legolas's quick reflexes, I was like, yeah, this tournament's mine.
Yeah. Sam, you hate it, right? Boros Painter?
Not really. I think
okay.
No, because they are not all in on stopping you from playing Magic. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So I actually do enjoy playing against Painter because I do think it's much more skill intensive. They don't usually go turn 1 into Blood Moon. Like if you can get one, if you can play a land, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Don't get me wrong. The cards that they present are really powerful. However, you can interact, and I really find lose against Painter usually because you do get to play Magic, especially off the sideboard with my new list. As I said, 4 swords, 4 force of figures. You get that gets a lot of it does a lot of heavy lifting. So I like playing against the deck. Not that it's favored for Infect by any means, but it feels to me like 50-50-ish, especially with my new build also playing like double Hydroblasts. Sideboard cards are important. And if Painter really becomes, alongside initiatives and the best win rate, so maybe people are going to play it more, I'm going to start playing the green graveyard thingy. What's the name again? Like Gaia's something?
Gaia's Blessing.
Exactly. That's a cool.
Yeah, nice.
So you don't have to worry about the combo anymore. So I do like that one.
Yeah.
That'll
give you
in
the
back of
time
my
you need
head
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't draw it.
No, don't draw it. Even then, you can still draw. It says also draw a card, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can actually cast it. So
you need 2 of them so you can shuffle the other one back in.
Exactly.
Right.
It sucks, but at least you get to draw a card off of it.
Yeah, it's true. I think there was I forget what it was. There was it cycled and it destroyed target artifact. It was something Deliverance or something like that.
Descent is Deliverance.
That's I was playing that for a while at main deck in Infect back when this was whenever that set that came out was around, and it worked a couple of times. Sometimes you just need something to draw the card.
Exactly. Failsafe on the card is really good.
Yeah. All right, next we're on to Colorless Painter, which just looks like mono red painter to me. So, Michael, how did you fare in this one?
Yeah, so this one, they never really presented a lot of painter pieces. I think they were just going, turn 1, turn 2 Rabble Masters in both of our games. And again, you slam your turn 1 Rabble Master and you go 1, 5, 8 or whatever that clock is, and it doesn't add up to 20 until like the 4th turn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was able to just play my 1/1 and then find the opportunity to get an attack in off quick reflexes, take out the 1 blocker, get in for 10.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Sam, Colorless Painter, which like I said, this looks like red painter to me.
Yeah, so I'm surprised you have red painter, but they did play the Goblin.
Yeah, it was like a Painter Stompy hybrid, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, Broadside Bombardiers is the card that scares me the most.
Yeah, but that seems like just isn't that just red Stompy then? Because were the painters in there?
This looks like a red Stompy deck that was listed as colorless, but it's definitely red.
I mean, if we're talking about red Stompy, I've already told you how much I hate losing against Blood Moon and Chalices, so I think that matchup is just horrible for us, which is why I've adapted my sideboard. However, if they're just going to play some creatures and try to kill you that way, I mean, that's not going to work. You can't raise Infect based on damage, so that's not going to work.
This deck's only playing 2 Magus of the Moon and board, so they're not even playing the Blood Moon package.
Oh, wow. That's okay.
Even easier.
Yeah, I mean, Blood Moon is what makes the deck so scary alongside Chalice, so if they're not playing that one, then that'd get a lot better.
They're just playing a bunch of goblins at that point.
Yep.
All right, so now we go to your, spoiler alert, your next loss. This is 4-color tempo.
Yeah, so this they were on Bowmaster Murktide as their kill conditions, and then it was just tons and tons of interaction. And I do think, like the Temur Delver, it is, skill intensive. It's who draws more interaction. It's a lot of back and forth. You can play around Bowmasters. Now you have the list up in front of you, right?
Yeah.
How many Wastelands were they on?
They were on 3 Wastelands.
Okay. Yeah, so I lost the match. I had a mulligan to 5 that I went like land, mana dork, and they went wasteland bolt.
Ugh.
And, that was that. And then our game 3, I had to fight through 3 Bowmasters and 2 Wastelands and a Murktide or something. And it was just, it wasn't going to come together for me. But outside of, the one match experience, I think it's definitely a winnable matchup, just like the other 4-color decks. But they did just have more interaction than most.
Yeah, this deck has been, I think people are starting to call this garbage pile, because it's basically, you remove Delver and you just throw in another color to the deck so that you can play Bowmasters in a Temur deck. And so, yeah, you get, like, Bowmasters is not one of those cards that's unbeatable, I would say, for Infect, and you're happy to take, like, 3 to draw a card if you have an Invigorate in your hand, because you're like, I'm just going to attack anyhow and try and kill you.
Yeah.
But putting in 2 blockers is always a problem. Sam, how do you feel about this 4-color, like, garbage pile style deck?
Yeah, they play a lot of removal. That's unfortunate. The thing is, since they play 4 colors, sometimes they just don't have the removal that they want. So I find against the deck, it's better to just go for it maybe a bit earlier than you'd want to, because their removal is like split between black and red usually. So sometimes they just don't have a way to remove your threats, and especially since they also rely on Bowmasters. I also think that Bowmasters, I heard in the beginning a lot that, okay, this is a death of Infect, which I've heard like a million times. And Bowmasters really, let me tell you one thing, no, that's just not true. Fatal Push is much more scarier than Bowmasters is, because Bowmasters is like a weaker Fatal Push that costs 2 mana. So so I really don't think that's the biggest issue, and we also know how to play against bolts, etc. So it feels to me like probably a bit like you're playing against Delver. However, less consistent. So I think it's okay to play against it. And again, Catherine, if we are playing that one, if you resolve that one, it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Temur Rhinos again, which you won. We won't talk about Temur Rhinos a second time. Let's go on to the next round and talk about Eldrazi Stompy, a deck I didn't even know was still around and was apparently doing pretty good, because this is, round 10? So, and you only have 2 losses at this point. So
I did not play against Eldrazi Stompy in round 10.
Oh yeah, they lied about what they're playing.
Yeah.
This is the Yuriko Tiger Shadow ninja deck.
Yeah,
but still, like, that's a deck I also just would not expect to see.
No, not at all. This is one of my favorite decks, and this guy was crushing it with this deck. Our matches, again, I felt pretty favored. One of their first creatures that they play has the line, "This creature cannot block" on it.
Yeah. Thanks, Changeling Outcast.
Yeah. So they hit me with the Changeling into the artifact that turns your Changeling into a 4/4, and that was all very. They didn't have a lot of interaction for me. They didn't have a fast enough clock. Post board, however, they did have Plague Engineer. Oh. So I was lucky to dodge that one. He showed it to me after board, but no, it was just another. I got to present really fast kills.
Yeah. They're playing back to basics, which is rude.
Yes. Yeah, I asked him if he had brought him back to basics out of the sideboard, and he said he was just jamming the main deck all day, and it was crushing. Yeah. I love that card. That's so good.
Sam, how do you feel about back to basics?
It's pretty much the same as Blood Moon. It just, if it resolves.
Yeah.
Although, depending on the situation, you can still attack once. So you can, if you are aware of back to basics, it's much less of an issue, because then you can navigate your way through it. So it's not as big of a deal as Blood Moon is.
Also, your lands are still forests, which means that you can cast Invigorate for free.
Exactly. So you can go in for, I'm just going to set up for 1 turn and then see if I can make it work. So Back to Basics it's a very good card against us, but it's not as back-breaking as Blood Moon is.
Yeah. Then we go into your last round, Mono Red Prison. You hate to see it.
I hated to see it. I was very scared of it. Game 1, he, again, just played a turn 1 Rabblemaster, and it did not present a fast enough clock. And then in our game 2, I think he was on a mulligan to 6. He went a Soul Land into a Chrome Mox, and I'm looking at a Force of Vigor in my hand, and I have the potential to, stop him from getting that 3rd mana from imprinting. But the green card I would have had to pitch to it was my Berserk, which was the only way I could actually present a fast enough kill.
Yeah.
So I let the mocks go through, he imprints a Magus on it, and I like have a mild heart attack because I think he's just going to play another one. And then he plays Broadside Bombardiers and attacks me for 2.
You're like, what?
Yeah, and I'm like, what is this? What is happening?
Thank you.
And yeah, it was a gift, and I just played my guy, had the 1 protection spell I needed, and got in for lethal. And I asked him about it after the round, and he said since the Soul Land was his only land, making that a mountain meant he couldn't cast any other spells with what he had in his hand. So I understood the logic afterwards. I think if he cast that Magus, I was dead, though. Because I couldn't cast any spells.
If you can stop your opponent from casting all of their spells versus like you're just screwed until you draw another land, I think you're in good shape. So yeah, you went X and 2 for Eternal Weekend, which is pretty great. An amazing run. But let's now pivot and talk about the future of this deck. How Sam, how do you feel about the build as it is right now?
I think it's the strongest.
That's to say, how do you feel about Michael's build at this point? Because that's the last one we have to look at.
But I'm just going to consider that one as the same. Just 2 cards different in the sideboard. It's pretty much the same shell, if I can say it like that. And it feels, honestly, this is the strongest that Infect has ever been. I've been playing it since, I don't know, 2016, something like that, like forever. And I've never had the feeling that I had. This is the first time we have like an I win button, right? If you have Legolas at a certain time, it's just, okay, I'm going to win now. Okay, yeah. It's our Teferi, right? It's that powerful. And that's the game the deck has always been able to steal games, but Legolas allows you to not only steal games, but makes for so many cute things you can do, so many sweet interactions. It's also a removal spell. It's literally everything we've been wanting for a long time, and I'm very excited for the future. But honestly, if I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I could get to create a card, like what do I want currently, because the pump spells we've gotten so many pump spell upgrades, now protection upgrade. What else is there to like? Like, new Infectors clearly not coming if we look at new Phyrexia, so I'm not hoping for that. So honestly, I don't know. You can always get a stronger card, of course. But I'm happy.
Do we
for
need
the
like a
being.
+5/+5? Like,
yeah, exactly. They will.
That's silly.
Given enough time, we will get new pump spells for sure. But I'm very excited for the future, and the deck. What I'm playing right now, it's clear that also since Eternal Weekend and results, and my hype about the deck, the interest has really increased because I have a Patreon dedicated to Infect. And it has pretty much exploded after Eternal Weekends, where I'm close to 100
If you're interested in
now.
Infect, by the way, the Patreon link is below for Sam.
Nice.
So check that out for sure.
So I think the only reason why we haven't seen that many people talking about it is results online is usually what they get more attention. And I rarely play online these days, so I have not been able to compete in any challenges, etc. And I don't think other people are interested in playing Infect right now. And that is still a thing with the deck, which is why I'm so surprised with hearing that you went 9-2, by the way, Mike, after picking up the deck after just a week. The deck is not easy to play. And I think that's Legolas makes it. You have the I win button, sure, but you will not always have Legolas. So the deck is still very difficult. And if you make a wrong decision at a certain point, you will 3-for-1 yourself. And I think that's the reason why people are still a bit afraid of playing it. But I do think we will see an increase in the popularity if we see the results coming, because I do think it's just as powerful as it has ever been. So I'm in love with it now, and I'm very excited about the future.
Yeah, and the deck is definitely tough to play. But I think one of the greatest strengths for me on the weekend was how fast the matches went. I've always been a player who's playing like the grindier control decks or the mid-range stuff. Playing Infect, I think
you got to
longest...
eat in between rounds?
Yeah,
you got to go to the bathroom?
I never went to time. One time I looked at the clock when my round was done, there were 10 minutes left. But most of the time I'm looking at the clock and there are 35 minutes left.
Yep.
So I just had so much free time.
Yeah, you either win fast or you lose fast.
Yeah.
You know what's going on pretty quickly.
Having that mental energy to last for 11 rounds of Legacy just decided the event for me, honestly.
Yeah, I think for me, if Sam, you were saying if there was like a wish to get a card to put into the deck, I think it would be some combination of like split card where it does like a pump and like a counter spell, or like this is a pump spell and it kills an artifact or an enchantment. Like that would be my like pie in the sky wish.
So you just love another Legolas, but then. But yeah, sure. Yeah. I take it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think, but honestly, I don't think the deck needs that much. Like, I think we're at a point, like you said, this is the most powerful the deck has ever been. To that end, like, I think I won. I was always pretty conservative about my turn 2 kills. I didn't do it very often. I think I won like 4 games off of turn 2 kills where I was like, they don't have it. Soul Read, and then I just attacked, and like I was right. I
mean, you have to, right? That's the deck sometimes.
That is the difficult part.
I think now more than ever, just being like, okay, like I know what you're doing, and the best thing you could possibly have in your hand is a leyline binding. I'm attacking. You know, I think at this point the deck is as powerful as it has ever been.
Exactly.
And the removal in the format does line up against it to a point. Solitude's a problem, Snuff Out's a problem. But the tools are there if you play the deck with some amount of patience.
I want to pick up on that because the reason also why the deck has been feeling as powerless ever is because the things we are really afraid of really aren't played that much anymore. Like Snuff Outs, the card's really bad right now because everyone's playing Bowmaster, so everyone's cutting it, which you should do, I think. People are also cutting... Yeah, but that's just... Based on the meta, that's the right thing to do because you're just going to die to Bowmasters usually, so why are you playing Snuff Outs? If you're playing you're playing it in the sideboard.
Snuff out a Rhino?
Yeah, exactly. You
that
could do that, sure. It's just not as good anymore. Same for Plague Engineer. Plague Engineer is at an all-time low because tribal decks are just gone. Like, against what decks do you still want Plague Engineers? Elves is not a thing anymore. It's no crate control. And they don't play Elves. So there really aren't that many decks anymore that Plague Engineer really hits, which is also good for us. Solitude... Yeah. I haven't really seen it a lot in Legacy, really. Like, I don't even know a deck
that like
really plays
80 card Death and Taxes just isn't played that much anymore.
Exactly. So I think it's a combination of all these things where, and sure, the Bowmasters as well. Yeah, it pings for 1, sure, but it costs 2 and it pings for 1. All my pump spells just save our creatures. It's a combination of the deck having gotten a lot of upgrades that people don't know about, Legolas and Embiggen, and the way the meta is set up right now, that I think the deck is good. In combination of those two, honestly, to me, it feels like a tier 2 deck. That's what I would give it. Given, of course, that you're playing with the skilled pilot, but that's true for every deck, basically. That's how it feels to me. And also, you get a lot of these free wins because people don't know what you're doing. I've had readers during my Eternal Weekend. So I cast Blight Agent. People looks at the card and says, "Okay, what does this do then?" I'm like, "Okay." Let me just explain to you what Infect is. Because
one of my opponents in like late in the tournament, I swung for lethal with an Embiggen on an Inkmoth Nexus, and I had to explain like why it was a +5/+5. Yeah. And he called a judge to make sure that Embiggen was legal in the format.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have to explain.
Hold on. I believe the +5/+5. I don't know about this card though.
Yeah, that happens.
No, I had a match in a side event where my opponent was on Death and Taxes. He had like 6 guys back, just ready to block, and I swung in with my Glistener Elf. He had 8 Infect, and it pumped with what's called a Noble Hierarch, and he goes, "Well, that's 10." And I was like, "What just happened?" He just picked up his cards. And I was like, did he think it was unblockable? Like, I mean, he took it. Like, I'm not gonna, I paid money for this event. If you don't know I didn't tell him it was unblockable. He had blocked a Glistener Elf in an earlier game. So I was like, I don't know what's going on. I asked him after the round. He's like, yeah, I think I just forgot. Like, that happens, though. Like, that happens.
Yeah,
people just forget about cards they don't see. You don't know
I
how
have
to
the
play
same, but with Blooded Agent, where I'm like, so I have Blooded Agent, so they just play a bunch of creatures tapping out, and I'm like, okay, my turn. So so I just said attack. They're gonna go, okay, I'm gonna block, and I'm like,
no,
I'm sorry, man. That's just not how this works.
To that end, the same thing happened to me when one of my opponents played Grist a couple weeks before the tournament. I thought Grist was targeted removal. So sorry, I thought Grist was an edict effect. So I just like, oh, okay, I guess I lose my guy, and then I didn't realize that I could have saved my guy with a vines at the time.
Oh yeah.
So read your opponent's cards.
I mean, hey,
tell everybody.
Same for me. I've done stupid things. I've tried to spell pierce a Grist.
Yeah.
I've actually done that. It was in Bologna at your season. So I spell pierce Grist. My opponent goes,
oh god,
okay.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the thing. The thing is, my opponent also didn't realize. So I spell pierce. They put it in the graveyard, and we continue playing. And there's like a dude standing watching the game, and he's like, "I'm gonna have to pause right now because I'm gonna have to call a judge." And we're like, okay, why?
Like, what do we do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and he then told us like spell piece doesn't work because it's a creature, and we are both like, yeah, damn. So that happens.
Well, I will have everybody's particular builds below. The one thing I want to say about my build for Eternal Weekend is that I think a lot of the losses I took were because I cut lands and I didn't have enough lands to activate my Lorians. So I want to take out a Spell Pierce and add a basic force because I'm sick of losing the Blood Moon to the deck, and I think that's where I am with the deck right now. But everyone's decks are below. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this Infect Symposium, and I hope everyone gets to 10 soon.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
It was great.
Okay. See you.
For the gift that keeps on giving all year round, join our Patreon at patreon.com/eternaldurdles. And hey, check out this playlist we got up here with all of our interviews over the last couple of years. Some great people from the Legacy community, some really great guests.